So hi guys, welcome to my channel, my YouTube, my Instagram, my TikTok, my whatever you find this video, welcome there. Ideally, what I am doing is I am reading the Bible, and as I go by, I share what I learned from it. So I've read a couple of books, so I'll start where I am as of now, but a little recap. Genesis, from what I understood, is more about the introduction to mankind, whatnot. Exodus is about the I've really done like the worst explanation of Genesis because there's a bit of stories in there. Because we have Noah and the ark, we have Abraham up until, so Genesis ends when the Egyptians come to, the Israelites come to Egypt because Joseph asked for the family to come there. So that is where Genesis ends, right? Exodus is basically introducing us to Moses and the separation that has been going on. So there's a huge gap between now what happens when the Israelites enter up until where we find them. Okay, these are like a lot of years later. Then now after that, we go to, so they're there. So that is, and then Exodus is them now leaving Egypt and coming to I'm telling you these stories. So Exodus is them now leaving, the Israelites leaving Egypt, going to the promised land, and what happens in between during the wilderness, whatnot scenario. Numbers is more about Genesis, Exodus, Numbers. Numbers is more about them telling people. So that is where we actually see the first people being counted, armies, people above 20. There's also a lot of things that are happening during the wilderness scenarios, but most of it is about count these people, the leaders of these are who and who, whatnot, that kind of thing. Leviticus is, to me, a book of instruction. This is where you're told, this is how you're gonna give your sacrifices, this is what you should not do, this is what you should do, whatnot. So to me, Leviticus is pretty much a book of instructions, and it is one of the hardest things to read, books to read, because the idea of actually just reading instruction one after the other is pretty, a lot. I find it a bit I'd say I find it a bit overwhelming to just have to read instructions every now, like every 2 seconds. It's a lot of, what you should give in sacrifices, feasts, whatnot, that kind of thing. So Deutronomy, which is the book I am in right now, is, from what I see, it is about remembrance. It's about Moses reminding people what you should and shouldn't do as you prepare to go to the land of Canaan. Because remember, at this point, what is happening is Moses has already been told by God, by the way, you will not see the promised land. Why? Because because the Israelites, when Moses was praying, was up in the mountains and during the 10 Commandments, the people decided to make a golden calf and start. No, it wasn't that. Actually, the reason why Moses is not going to the promised land is because of the rock Storo, where he actually is told to talk to the rock and get water, and then he decides to strike it. Because at that point, God says he disrespected God, So that is the reason why he's not going. And we also see at Deuteronomy that actually Moses tries to plead with God to allow him to go. And God is like, yo, bro, no, you're not leaving this place. So now he's also preparing Joshua to be able to lead the people to the promised land. But at this point also, we are seeing a lot of God's grace and God's strength, because some of the people that the Israelites are actually now fighting with, they're like, there's a community there that is giants. It's a community of giants, and the Bible is very clear that one of these giants is like 13 feet tall. 13 feet, it's like me and you stack up together. So that is how big this person is. And then he's wide, whatnot. So these are the people the Israelites are like literally, fighting. And so Moses keeps on telling the people, you need to remember what God did for you. You need to remember that God did miracles for you, so that you don't forget God when you go to this promised land. And one of the things that so far so good has stuck with me is the fact that when God is saying, when Moses is telling, actually it's God who's telling Moses to tell the people, as always, by saying one of the biggest problems with people who believe in God is riches. Like when God blesses you with, you know, back then cattle, whatnot, but in our day when God blesses you with a good life, good things, one of the things that you're prone to doing is, you know, forgetting about God. And God says, I took these people through the wilderness to humble them and to show them things so that they would always remember that I am God above every other thing. And this is also the place where God says, remember when Jesus was praying, akatestiwa na the devil, and then he said, man shall not live by bread alone. This is also the same place that actually God tells people, remember that, like from what you've learned is that you do not have to live by food alone. Like God is such a big provider that not only what is known to you can make you stay, but God can, you know, provide other ways for making you survive and your body. Because manna is something that has never been eaten to date. That is something that God wholeheartedly provided. And so what I learned is that when God blesses you, you should try as hard as you can to not forget where you've come from, one, and to not forget that God, even in those situations, God is still there. Even when you're blessed, when you're rich, when you've achieved what you wanted to do, that God is still there. Like you should never forget God in your rich, because most of us remember God when you're suffering. Like you're going through a lot, that is when you pray. Ukisha bless you hivi, then you ultimately forget about God. So that is one of the things that I've learned. The other thing I've learned is God told the people of the Israelites rather, that the reason why I am handing over these communities to you and you beat them up, of course, their communities take their things, whatnot. The reason why I'm doing these things is not because you are righteous people, not because you are good, not because he says, actually, as a matter of fact, you are very stubborn, which so far so good. We've seen how stubborn these people are. You're very stubborn. I am doing this thing because of the mistakes of these people, not because of you. Like when you actually think that God is doing this because you're amazing and you're loved and what, no, God is doing this to these other people because of their, you know, their disobediences. These people have been, remember, these people have been living widely, worshiping other gods or not. So one of the things that God is telling us, from what I understand, is it is not because of your goodness or your good doings. No, it is because of the other faults in the other person that God is doing this to you, and because of his mercies. Otherwise tungekuwa tumepotea njia. Those are the two main things so far I've seen from Deuteronomy. One, you should never forget God even in your good days. Like when you're done praying for whatever you're praying for and God makes this possible to you, you should never forget where God has taken you from. And two, the other thing I've learned is just know that it is not because of your goodness or whatnot that you've done. It is because of the flaws of these other people that God is taking away from your life, and because of his mercies ultimately. So Deuteronomy is pretty much a book of remember when God did these things for you. Because I mean, so far we've seen God do amazing stuff for the Israelites, and these people are stubborn. They're like extremely stubborn. I'm like, hey, no. But yeah, so those are the two takeaways for today. I hope you learned something. As we continue reading, I'll keep on telling you more. Nikikumbuka kitu, I will update. But yeah, so far so good. That is the thing. That is what we've learned today.